we can go right ahead and talk about the Hawks matchup against the Chicago Bulls and how the Bulls ended up blowing out the Hawks in this win. And let me just pull up the box scores real quick. Just give me 1 second. Okay, just waiting for it to load. All right, so for this game, the player of the game was Coby White. He ended the game with 42 points and 9 rebounds and 6 assists, along with 2 steals. He is also the only other Bulls player other than Michael Jordan to record 40 points and 5 assists and 0 turnovers in a game. And obviously, that's a really, really ridiculous achievement, being able to drop 40 points and 5 assists and get 0 turnovers. Now, he's also the first player ever to record 40 points, 5 rebounds, 5 assists, 40 plus rebounds, 5 plus assists. 5 plus rebounds, 5 plus assists, 40 plus points. Jesus, what is wrong with my English today? In the postseason game without a turnover and on 70% plus from the field. So obviously he played a very good game, a very historic game. And unfortunately, however, this game doesn't count. So this is Coby White's career high. This is the most points he's ever dropped in a game. And the problem is that play-in game stats don't count in the record books. For some reason, I don't understand how that works, because a lot of people are trying to argue that the play-in game has no meaning to it. And having rules like this apply is only boosting that argument, and therefore, discrediting a lot of what, because I personally think that, the play-in, only when it's, necessary, for the Western Conference, is a great addition to this game. And Adam Silver did a great job in making this into a thing. However, if it's not going to count in the record books, then it's going to be very difficult for a lot of people to take it seriously. Because if this game doesn't count, then, what postseason game does? That does not make any sense. And it's also, just completely discrediting everything that he did in this game, because dropping 42 points is very impressive. And Nikola Vucevic ended the game with 24 points and 12 rebounds, so he was another integral piece to this team. And Javonte Green ended the game with 10 points. And really, Coby White did most of the scoring in this game and was arguably the main reason why they won. Now, on the Hawks side, DeJounte Murray ended the game with 30 points, 7 rebounds, and 6 assists, shooting 11 for 21 from the field. Clint Capella ended the game 11 for 15 from the field with 22 points and 10 rebounds. 17 rebounds, excuse me. I don't know what's up with me today and recently. It's probably all this schoolwork, honestly. I got finals due in a few weeks, and they're really, really kicking me. But yeah, so Clint Capella, he ended the game with 22 points and 17 rebounds, along with 4 assists. Trae Young ended the game with 22 points and 10 assists. And Bogdanovic ended the game with 21 points, 5 rebounds, and 4 assists. So most of the scoring came from the starting lineup, and they really didn't get a lot of help coming from the bench. DeAndre Hunter ended the game 3 for 16 from the field and only ended with 8 points. 0 for 7 from 3, and honestly, he's the main reason why they lost. He is the biggest reason why this team lost, because that shooting held them back. If he would have hit a couple more shots, the game would have been a little bit closer, but it wasn't. And, granted, the lead started out early because the first quarter was 40-22 or something like that, but it was a little bit of a back and forth, and his shooting definitely wasn't helping them keep the game competitive. And it's really it's a little bit annoying when if you're one of these starters and you play really, really well, and there's this one guy in the starting lineup who couldn't pick up the slack because he played 42 minutes and he couldn't make a shot. It was really, really troubling, and it's just like anything can happen in these in one game, and he unfortunately got the worst end of the stick. So now the biggest question is, was this Trae Young's final game for the Atlanta Hawks? Because there have been a little bit of speculation. Like, I know DeJounte Murray was in trade talks, but there also has been like the theory that, or the possibility that Trae Young gets paired up with Victor Wembanyama, because considering how good of a playmaker Trae Young is. And will this be his last game on the Hawks? He's also talked about it on his podcast before, where he just wants to win, and if he feels like he can win in Atlanta, then he is going to stay there. But if he doesn't feel like he can win, who's to say he's not going to change his team and decide to go somewhere else? Now, it's a little bit unsure, and it's a little bit uncertain of like what his future could entail, and it's all dependent on the direction of the Hawks. Maybe if they make some big moves in free agency and they're able to get some stars to play in Atlanta, maybe that will change his mind and decide to stay with the organization because they are providing him with the help that he needs. Because unfortunately for Atlanta, ever since that one Eastern Conference Finals appearance in 2021, where there was like a little bit of COVID, like just recovering from a COVID year, not in the bubble, but, after the bubble, they haven't really seen much success they haven't seen much success after that series, like, at all. And it's really concerning, because it's like the team is supposed to be making steps forward, not making steps backward. And so far, that's sort of been the only thing that they've done, especially in the postseason. They lost to the Miami Heat in the first round, with Trae Young playing very poorly. They also lost to the Celtics in the playoffs, which, again, Trae Young was responsible for winning a game against them, but it's like they still ended up losing, and they haven't really gone as far as they have previously. And it's honestly a similar story with the Dallas Mavericks, except they got to the Western Conference Finals a little bit later than Trae Young and the Hawks made it to the Eastern Conference Finals. But ever since they made that conference finals appearance, they missed the playoffs, and now there's a chance they might get eliminated again to the Clippers, which is like, it's a similar story, and it's honestly like a pretty funny parallel, but both teams should be a little bit concerned, especially the Hawks, with they have no idea if Trae Young wants to go out, then that would push DeJounte Murray out as well. So things to consider for the Hawks. Now, on the Bulls side, they have a chance to play for the 8th seed against the Miami Heat. They have a pretty good shot at winning this game, assuming that all these players end up playing as good, if not better, than they previously had tonight, or last night, excuse me. And with the not with the Lakers. What am I talking about? The Lakers? Jesus Christ. With the Bulls going into the play-in matchup against the Miami Heat, I think this is where they stop. Like, they beat them, and then they're going to have to play the Boston Celtics, who have a significantly better team than the Chicago Bulls team has. And therefore, I think the Celtics are going to just end up sweeping this team, as well as being able to sweep the Miami Heat, because the Heat don't have Jimmy Butler. And it's really like they're in a tough spot, because they're always in this tough spot. I don't understand how they always find themselves like in the mid-tier of the Eastern Conference with the team that they have. Because like Kobe White, DeMar DeRozan, and Vucevic, if they played like this like a little bit more consistently, I don't expect Kobe White to drop 40 every single game. That would be crazy. But if he could drop 25, and if DeRozan can continue that his 25 points per game average, which he's averaging 24 right now, which is just 1 point off. It doesn't matter. They can really be a formidable team, especially when Zach LaVine gets back into the rotation, whenever it is that he does. But it's just they haven't been that formidable team that I thought they were going to be. And that might have been because Kobe White hasn't really hit his peak yet. And right now, he's in the running for most improved player. I don't really think he's going to win that, but it's definitely a possibility. And the fact that he's in the running for that means that he's improved really well from the last year. So maybe this was the breakout year that he needed, which will allow the Bulls to be the contenders in the future or make some sort of playoff noise in the future. Because right now, I don't see it for this team. I really don't see any sort of playoff success coming in from this team. So I'm not entirely sure what to think of them. I genuinely don't, because it's they're always mid. It's the same story with the Hawks recently, and it's they have the pieces, they just can't make it work, and it's really difficult to understand why. But that's basically all I have to say on that's definitely all I had to say on the second segment. And with that, we are out of time for this second segment. And now I will go ahead and go into the third segment, where I talk about the next play-in games that are going to be happening tomorrow, which are going to be both the Eastern Conference play-in game and the Western Conference play-in game. They're the final play-in games, and they fight for the 8th seed to see who's going to take on the Thunder and who's going to take on the Celtics. So I'll be right back after this short break.
Looking for your daily fix of sports talk?